Deep in the Swiss Alps, a story festered. It was a tale from the 1960s. A place called Clinic Somnus was its heart. They said it was a sleep study clinic, a place for healing troubled minds, for curing the sleepless, the haunted. But the whispers told a different story. They spoke of experiments that went too far, of doctors playing with things best left undisturbed. The clinic shut down, suddenly, violently, some said. No explanations were ever truly offered, just silence. The official records were sparse, sealed perhaps, or conveniently lost over the decades. Locals in the nearby valleys spoke in hushed tones. They avoided the winding mountain path, the path that led to the clinic's skeletal remains. They said the place was cursed, that the mountain itself held its breath around it. Children were warned never to venture near. The story became a local legend, a chilling reminder of ambition unchecked, a monument to secrets buried under snow and silence. Leo Maxwell lived for the forgotten. He was a TikTok explorer. They called him Leo the Ghostly. His followers numbered in the tens of thousands. They craved the thrill of vicarious adventure. They loved watching him delve into abandoned places, places where time had seemingly stopped. Leo wasn't just after clicks, though. He had a genuine curiosity, a deep-seated need to uncover hidden stories, to give voice to the silent, decaying remnants of the past. He felt a pull towards the unexplained. Clinic Somnus had been on his radar for months. The whispers, the lack of information, it was irresistible. It was the perfect blend of history and horror. He'd spent weeks researching, piecing together fragments of rumor and speculation. The more he learned, the more determined he became. This wasn't just another abandoned hospital. This felt different. This felt significant. He had a feeling, a gut instinct. This place held a real secret. A dark one. He had to be the one to find it. His followers were buzzing with anticipation. He'd teased the expedition for days. The Lost Sleep Clinic, he'd called it. Secrets in the snow. His kit was packed. Everything a modern-day ghost hunter might need. The journey itself was an ordeal. The old mountain path was barely visible. Overgrown and treacherous, it snaked upwards. Leo's small, rented car struggled on the lower slopes. Soon he had to abandon it. He continued on foot. The air grew thinner, colder. The silence of the Alps was profound, broken only by the wind whistling through pines and the crunch of his boots on loose scree. He felt a growing sense of isolation, a feeling of being watched by the ancient mountains. He checked his phone. No signal, as expected. He was truly alone now, just him and the looming presence of the clinic. Higher and higher he climbed. The forest thinned, giving way to exposed rock. Patches of old snow lingered in shadowy crevices. Even though it was early summer, the sun seemed weaker here, as if the mountain itself cast a perpetual gloom. He pushed onward, his breath misting in the chill air, his determination warring with a nascent unease. After several grueling hours he saw it, a dark silhouette against the grey sky, Clinic Somnus. It was larger than he'd imagined, more imposing. Finding an entry point wasn't difficult. A large ground-floor window was shattered. Its frame rotted and broken. Leo cleared away some loose shards of glass. He peered into the darkness within. The air was cold and musty. He hesitated for a moment. Then he swung his leg over the sill. He dropped lightly onto the debris-strewn floor. The room was a former reception area. A large, overturned desk lay in the center. Papers were scattered everywhere. Dust lay thick on every surface. Cobwebs hung like macabre decorations. The silence was different, more personal. He could hear his own heartbeat. His headlamp cut through the gloom, dancing over peeling wallpaper. He moved cautiously, boots crunching on glass. Each sound echoed unnaturally. He announced his presence. "Hello, is anyone here?" The only reply was the wind. Leo ventured deeper into the clinic. Corridors branched off from the main hall, each one a dark maw promising further decay. He chose one at random. His light bobbed ahead, revealing numbered doors on either side. Patient rooms, most likely. Many doors were ajar. He pushed one open. Inside, a rusted bed frame stood forlornly. A single tattered curtain clung to a window, staring out at the unforgiving mountainscape. The sense of hurried abandonment was strong. Personal belongings were still visible in some rooms, a pair of spectacles on a nightstand, a book, its pages fused together by moisture, a child's drawing, faded and poignant. It was as if the occupants had fled, dropping everything in their haste. What could have caused such a sudden evacuation? He filmed everything. His commentary was hushed, respectful, but tinged with a growing excitement. This was exactly what he came for. He found what looked like a common room. Chairs were overturned, a broken television set lay face down in a corner. On one wall, a faded mural depicted serene alpine scenes, a stark contrast to the grim reality of the room. He imagined patients sitting here trying to find solace, trying to sleep, but finding only more unease. The air was thick with unspoken stories. He could almost hear the faint whispers of forgotten conversations, the sighs of restless nights. Further down the corridor, he found a nurse's station. Medical charts were strewn across the floor. Vials and syringes lay scattered, some still in their packaging. It was in what he presumed was a research wing that he found it. The rooms here were different. Smaller, more clinical, with strange-looking equipment rusting in corners. One room was almost entirely dark, but as his eyes adjusted, he saw it. A faint, flickering light, coming from the far end of the room. His heart hammered against his ribs. He wasn't expecting this. Power shouldn't be running. Not after 60 years of abandonment. This was impossible. He moved closer, his steps slow and deliberate. The light was definitely a projection, a moving image on a stained, peeling screen. An old reel-to-reel projector sat on a metal trolley. It was whirring softly, impossibly. How could it still be running? What was powering it? He looked around for a generator, a battery, nothing, just the projector and the images it cast. He felt a prickle of fear, a sense of deep unease. This defied all logic. The footage was grainy, black and white, silent. It showed a person in a bed. He began to watch the footage more closely, his initial shock giving way to a morbid fascination. The film looped, showing a series of short clips, each one more unsettling than the last. There were patients in sterile rooms, their faces contorted in silent screams. Some clawed at the air, as if fighting unseen assailants. Others lay unnervingly still, their eyes open, yet vacant, as if their minds had simply departed, leaving their bodies behind. This was no ordinary sleep study. One segment showed a group of patients in a day room. They were not interacting. Instead, they moved in strange, synchronized patterns, as if puppets on invisible strings. Their movements were jerky, unnatural. One patient suddenly stopped, stared directly at the camera filming them, or so it seemed. A cold dread washed over Leo. It felt as though the patient was looking at him across the gulf of 60 years, a silent, accusatory gaze. He shivered despite the stuffy air. Another clip revealed doctors observing patients through one-way mirrors. Their faces were grim, concerned. As Leo continued to watch the looping footage, a new sensation began to creep in. It was subtle at first, a feeling of being observed. He'd felt it before in abandoned places. Usually it was just his nerves, the power of suggestion. But this was different, more intense, more specific. He kept glancing over his shoulder, sweeping his headlamp beam across the dark corners of the research lab. Nothing, just shadows and decaying equipment. Yet the feeling persisted. He tried to focus on the film, but his attention kept being drawn to the room itself. Was that a floorboard creaking upstairs, or just the old building settling? He couldn't be sure. The whirring of the projector seemed to grow louder, or perhaps other sounds were fading. He felt a sudden drop in temperature, a cold spot right behind him. He spun around. Nothing. He was alone. He had to be alone, but the conviction was wavering. His rational mind struggled against a primal fear. The footage flickered. For a split second, the image on the screen seemed to distort, the patient thrashing in the bed. Leo stumbled back from the projector. His heart was a frantic drum against his ribs. He snatched up his camera, pointed it wildly around the room. "Who's there?" he yelled. His voice cracked, echoed back at him, hollow and afraid. There was no reply, only the relentless hum of the projector, the endlessly looping images of past suffering. He felt trapped, as if the room itself was a cage. And he was the latest specimen under observation. This wasn't just an exploration anymore. He had to get out now. He backed towards the door, never taking his eyes off the screen. The reflection was gone. Or perhaps it had never truly been there. Was his mind playing tricks? The stress, the atmosphere, the disturbing footage, it was all too much. But the fear felt real, utterly, terrifyingly real. He fumbled for the doorknob. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely grip it. He had to escape the clinic, escape the loop.